creative. Okay? Okay, let me reframe the question. Who here was a child once? I'm always amazed how long it takes people to put their hands up. Can I ask you to, in just a second, I'm going to ask you to stand up and get in a group of 3 people, and just decide who's going to be person A, who's going to be person B, and who's going to be person C. Up again. I'm going to give you your career. You've worked in this occupation for the last 25 years, therefore you're the world's leading guru on this particular topic, therefore nothing that you say is wrong. Person A and B will spend about a minute and a half interviewing you about what you've been doing for the last 25 years. So person C, for the last 25 years you've been the world's leading designer of parachutes for elephants. Person A and B will now interview you about that job. Off you go. Person A, it's your turn. And for the last 25 years, you too have been a designer. You've been the world's most famous fashion designer of invisible clothing. Off you go. Person B, we've saved the best till last. Person B, you are the world's leading authority as a sex therapist for honeybees. Off you go. If they're creative, they refuse to put their hand up. And then just listen to yourselves. I heard somebody on the fashion designer of invisible clothing turn to the person next to them and say, "I love what you're wearing," which I thought was relatively creative. So who am I and why am I here? My name's Duncan. I had the pleasure and honour to work for the Walt Disney Company for 3 decades. I started as a coffee boy in the London office making cappuccinos in 1986 and worked there for 30 years. I got to do crazy things. The first 20 years was public relations. I got to fly into the Soviet Union in the very symbol of American capitalism, a giant Mickey Mouse hot air balloon 2 years before the Berlin Wall would come down. I got to put ears on the cool. I got to build a swimming pool for Michael Phelps to swim down Main Street, USA in Disneyland. And that really is my son's Buzz Lightyear. That really is the International Space Station. He is in fact the longest serving astronaut in space. He served on the International Space Station for 18 months. And NASA were kind enough to wait until they got over my son's house in Central Florida to take the picture. You'll now find him in the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., and the Air and Space Museum with the name James written on the bottom of his foot. So basically for 20 years I didn't do any work at all. And then about 10 years ago I got a call from the chairman. It's never good, is it, when you get a call from the chairman? And he said, look, you're the guy with all the big ideas, you're going to be in charge of innovation and creativity. To which my exact response was, well, what the hell is that? He said, I don't know, go figure it out. And so we surveyed 5,000 people at Pixar, Lucasfilms, Marvel, ESPN, Imaginary. We asked them what were the barriers to being more innovative and creative at work. We found 5. None of them will be unfamiliar to you. Time. I don't have time to think. Still considered the biggest barrier to innovation. If I look at your diaries for tomorrow, I know what they look like. They look like the barcode on the packet of cereal. They're completely full. And we hear ourselves say, I don't have time to think. Risk aversion, I have quarterly results to meet. From 1910 to 2010, pretty much nothing changed. Wall Street was born, we had quarterly results. Yeah, the internet came along, but we're still driven by quarterly results. So we're risk averse because we've got our quarterly results to meet. Anybody who believes that quarterly results are more important than purpose will be gone in less than a decade, and I don't care how big you are today, you will be gone. There are 3 or 4 things coming in the next decade which I believe make this the most exciting, the most terrifying decade of certainly my life, the most disruptive decade of my life. Artificial intelligence, scheduled to be, I think, thousands of times more intelligent than the human race by 2030. 3D printing. They reckon we'll print houses on a 3D printer for under $5,000 15 years from today. What will that do to the realty market? But think about purpose over profit. Because you've got artificial intelligence coming, you've got 3D printing coming, we've got product-centric, we build it, they will come cultures, run by people who remember the days of quarterly results, who can't give it up. You ask if they're consumer-centric, they put the hand up. You ask if they've spent the day in the living room of one of their consumers, and they can't put their hand up. These people will be gone in less than a decade, because they believe quarterly results is more important than purpose. I'll give you a very tangible example of why I think they're wrong. I was asked recently to go and give a talk to the world's #1 tool company. They make more hammers, chisels, and saws than everybody else. I know nothing about the tool industry, so I thought, how could I find out what was important to their consumers? So I went down to Home Depot and Lowe's, the big DIY stores in Florida, and I listened to that generation as they chose their tools. And I went back to talk to this company, the world's leading brand of tools, and I said, this generation doesn't even know who you are. They didn't mention your brand once. They didn't mention your product, the hammer, the chisel, or the saw. It wasn't important to them. They didn't even mention the price, $13.95 or $24.22. They didn't care. What they cared about was what was important to them. We're going to build our dream living room, our dream house, our dream kitchen. So I went back to the organisation and said, look, your purpose, if you choose to accept it, is you can be the brand who helps people build their dreams. And you can see it straight there. Oh, that's not going to help drive quarterly results. Their definition of innovation right now isn't, it's iteration. We're going to saturate Mexico and India because they've got a growing middle class. What this company has failed to realise is India and Mexico will bypass their tools just as India bypassed computers. They went straight to mobile phones. We're printing houses in Houston, Texas today on a 3D printer. They're printing hearts in Hyderabad, India today on a 3D printer so the surgeon can see the heart before they go in. Amazon spent billions of dollars on shipping last year. Think about production and storage. I estimate that somewhere between 10 and 15 years from today, at least 30% of what you buy on Amazon today online, you will print at home. That chair, you'll print it at home. The big table, you'll have to go to your local printers because your printer won't be big enough. If you can print anything you want on demand 15 years from today, what will you use a hammer, a chisel, or a saw for? No. They'll be in the Smithsonian Museum next to my son's Buzz Lightyear. Purpose over profit. Not only will they not buy your products and services if they don't believe in what you stand for, they don't want to work for you either. Why do you think so many people are becoming entrepreneurs? They don't trust the big corporations. Consumer insight underused was the fourth one. The fifth one was nobody had the same definition of innovation and creativity, so we created one. The habit of continually doing things in new ways to make a positive difference in our working lives. Not the best definition, but one. When you're trying to drive cultural change, one definition is important. The habit of continually doing things in new ways to make a positive difference to our working lives. What one word in that definition stands out for you? Continually, habit. It's about making it a habit. Can I invite you just for a moment to fold your arms? How does that feel? Kind of after lunch, comfy, going to fall asleep in a minute. Give them a shake. Now I invite you to fold them the other way. Okay. If it still feels comfortable, I promise you you're doing it wrong. So how does that feel? Whose arms are they anyway? They feel like dead people's arms, don't they? You can let them go, it's okay. Science of your brain says if you fold and unfold your arms 30 times in succession the wrong way, 3 days in a row, you will rewire your brain to fold your arms the other way. But that's not what's important. It felt awkward. That's how innovation feels. Who are the most creative people you've ever met? The dreamers. Who else? Kids, right? What is it that kids are really good at? I've gone too far away. What are kids good at? Make-believe imagination, right? I bought my nephew a bicycle for Christmas when he was 6. Came in a huge box, it was gift wrapped, came with a ribbon on it. It took him ages to get the bike out of the box. What do you spend the rest of the day playing with? Because the box could be anything he wanted it to be. The rocket ship, the castle, or the falls. You used to have a box. You played with it for days on end, till it got a bit ratty and Mummy threw it away and you cried. How old were you when you last saw the rocket ship? 6, maybe? What happens at the age of 6? We go to school. The teacher tells us it's just a box. And our imagination and creativity starts to collapse. Children are very good at playing, I'm going to talk about that. Children are very curious. They ask why, and why again. We go to school, we get a job, and we're told there's only one right answer, so we stop asking the second why. The real insight for innovation comes on the 4th or 5th why. If you ask somebody, why do you go to a Disney theme park? They'll tell you, I go for the rides. Well, that tells me to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on new attractions. If I ask why the second time, well, why do you like the rides? Oh, well, I like Small World. Well, why do you like Small World? I used to go with my mum. Why is that important to you? I take my daughter there. What that person has just told you on the 5th why is it's not about a capital investment in new attractions, it's about her memory and her nostalgia. That's a communication campaign. But if you stop on the first why, as we do as adults, you don't get to the real insight for innovation. They're very playful, they're very imagination, they're very curious, they go with their intuition along. I'm talking about the power of that. We as adults are very reductive. The more experience, the more expertise you get, the more reductive you think. The more reasons you know why this new idea won't work, and you just shoot it down without giving it a chance. Children think very expansively, how might we? They're constantly thinking, how might we get something done? We're always worried about how we're going to get it done, how it's going to drive our quarterly results. Gentlemen before me talked about disruption. If you don't disrupt in the next decade, you'll die. I don't care how big your brand is. Has anybody here ever thrown out an idea to have it shot down? Oh, come on, people. This requires hands in the air. We've all thrown out an idea to have it shot down, mate. It doesn't feel good when people shoot your ideas down. But what do they say? What do they do? They go, well, we tried that last year. It's not a strategic brand fit. I'll never get that past the legal department. So at Disney, if a senior person in the room folded their arms and smiled, you knew you were going down. And they would just go, interesting. What that really meant is your idea is dead now, don't bring it up again. So I'd like to demonstrate something that I think could change a culture, but I need a volunteer. One person. Right there, hands up, yep, come on up, one person. Come on up, this gentleman put his hand up first, and then I'll come to you for the second exercise, if that's okay. Come on up. Come on. Alright, come to you. Just one of you guys. This is make up your mind time. Give this young man a round of applause, come on. Daniel, nice to meet you. Here's a microphone for you. Yeah. We've been given $100,000 for tonight's party. So we're going to brainstorm an idea. I'm going to throw ideas out at you. The first two words I want you to use every single time when you reply are no because. And you have to tell me why you think it won't work. Okay? So, big room, 2,000 people. We could turn it into the Death Star.
Oh, no, because that would be too expensive.
Okay, sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike.
No, because it would be too expensive.
Okay, so how about an intergalactic food and wine festival?
No, because it would be too big.
Okay. Darth Vader smoothies?
No, because those don't exist yet.
You're going to make a great lawyer, son. Well done. Thank you very much. So now, in the spirit of our logo, I have to, it's your turn. I invite you to stand up, get with somebody who you are seated right next to. You've got $100,000 for tonight's party. One of you is throwing out the idea. The second person will respond with the first two words, no because. Up you go. You've got 1 minute. We all say no because. All of your experience and expertise teaches you to say no because. And that's where you go straight away. When you're running an ideation session, I encourage you to tell people, guys, we're not green-lighting the idea for execution today, we're just greenhousing it, okay? So relax, okay? So this is Solange, give this young lady a round of applause. So, same brief, yes, that, okay? $100,000. Do you know about Star Wars?
Briefly, yeah.
I can go Harry Potter, where would you like to go?
Maybe Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Better.
Okay, so into Hogwarts, and people could choose if they come as Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, or Slytherin.
Okay.
Yes, Sam.
Yes, and Snape's team.
Yes, and we could have a Quidditch fight, and the winner could get the Golden Snitch, which is worth like $100,000.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the Invisible Cloak.
Ooh, yeah, ooh, yes. And then we could go back to being invisible fashion designers all over again.
And yes, then go into the mythical forest.
Yes, the mythical forest where we can all get a mythical drink of our favourite alcoholic liquids to come in.
Yes, then go to Hagrid's house.
All right, this girl's very good at this. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, you have the same brief. You have $100,000 for tonight's party. I'd like the other person to start throwing out the idea this time. And after you've thrown out the first idea, the first two words in response that you both use are yes and. Up you get, off you go. just an observation from the stage. A lot more laughter, a lot more fun, twice the amount of energy, and most of you discovered your hands for the first time this afternoon. This time around, did the idea get bigger or smaller? Did the idea get bigger or smaller this time? Bigger, okay. You can always take a big idea and value engineer it down. God knows you've all seen it done. You can't take a small crap idea and make it a big one. When you finished developing the idea, whose idea was it when you finished? Ours. Never underestimate the power. This came from the world of improv. Two simple words, yes and. Transfers the pattern, makes the idea bigger, not smaller, but far more importantly, when you live inside big organizations, when you have governments to work with, when you have hierarchy to work with, when you have bureaucracy to work with, when you have bosses to work with, the moment you can transfer the power of my idea to our idea is the moment you accelerate its opportunity to get done. Who's fed up of going to brainstorms where nothing ever happens? Who knows that the next brainstorm they go to, nothing's going to happen? Right? It's very tiring. It's because you're yes-oring each other all the time. So we're working on a Star Wars idea together, and this young man comes up with a great Star Wars idea, and I go, yes! Or we can play golf. And he's like, whoa, wait, what happened to my Star Wars idea? It's because we're yes-oring each other. Yes, and forces my brain to stay on the same topic. I can't think quickly enough to go to a different one. So it makes your idea bigger, not smaller, by your own admission, transfers power of my idea to our idea, and stops people from yes-oring and keeps you on the same idea. When I asked you what children were really good at, you said playfulness. So I'm going to invite you in just a moment. First of all, I'll ask you a question. Who here is encouraging playful at work every day? Okay, there's one hand. I'm sure somebody will get that, don't worry. We're not, right? I don't expect you to be childish, but perhaps childlike when you're trying to have big ideas, and I'll prove it to you. Can I ask you to close your eyes for a moment, please? I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want you to think about the answer, I just want you to shout it out, obviously providing it's something you think you can shout out in public. So, where are you usually, and what are you doing when you get your best ideas? Shower? Where else? Waking up? Running? Driving? Hiking? Drinking, and maybe after my own heart right there, okay. Swimming? Bathroom? Washroom on the bus? Sorry? Ooh, the anomaly. You can go pretty much around a room of 2,500 people, and the only two words you won't hear are at work. There's always the exception to the rule, and I'm okay with that because this man's a disruptor, right? Here's the thing though, right? Now, well, that's a bummer, isn't it? Because you're paid to have big ideas at work. So close your eyes again. I want you to picture the last verbal argument that you were in with somebody. Good news is you don't have to tell anybody about it. Okay, so open your eyes. The argument's over. But God, you're pissed off at Fred. Fred, you son of a bitch! You blank up my boss on that email. You storm out of the office, you're pissed off at Fred. You slam the door, you go down to your local Starbucks. You get a, actually I'm going to get some coffee bump here if that's right. You get some, you get a cup of decaf. It's 5 or 10 minutes after the argument's over, you sit down, you're relaxed. You're beginning to relax. 5 or 10 minutes after the argument's over, what just pops into your head? Yes, the killer one-liner. That one line you wished you'd said during the argument. If I'd have said that, I'd have added, ooh, the perfect line, he's going down. The perfect line. I've had a... Who comes up with the perfect line during the argument? My wife can, it's quite soul destroying. but for most of us, right, it's 5 minutes afterwards. What a bummer. Why? Here's why. In an argument, your brain is very busy doing this. Guess what your brain looks like in the office? Meetings, presentations, schedules, diaries, PowerPoint presentations. And we hear ourselves say, I don't have time to think. The number one barrier to innovation. But the moment you step into the shower, the moment you walk the dog, the moment you go for a glass of something, the moment you go running, the moment you go jogging, bang, that idea just pops in there. Or the killer one-liner comes up as soon as you step away from the argument, because you gave yourself time to think. Believe it or not, this is what your brain looks like on any given day. Okay, I'm too far away from the stage again. There we go. That's what your brain actually looks like. You live in 4 brain states. This is true. You have 4 brain states: busy beta, amazing alpha, thoughtful theta, and dreamy delta. Busy beta is what your brain looks like most of the day. The door between your conscious and subconscious brain is firmly closed. Oh, there we go. But here's the challenge with that. You're only using 13% of your brain 98% of the day. The other 87%, the subconscious brain, is back there being unused, because the door between your conscious and subconscious brain is firmly closed. It's called the reticular activating system. I don't care. I call it a door. It's easier to remember. All that stimulus, every industry you've ever worked in, every company you've ever worked on, every innovation challenge you've ever worked on, every meal you've ever been for, every place you've ever been, every person you've ever kissed, even the ones you choose to forget that pop up weirdly on Facebook and want to friend you 5 years later. They're all back there as unrelated stimulus to help you solve the challenge. But when the door between your conscious and subconscious brain is firmly closed, you can't access it. So what if you could access your subconscious brain on demand and create that state? So you've got a choice. You can either move showers into the office, but that would be socially unacceptable. Option B. Or you just run energizers. The first thing I did when I came in here this afternoon was ask you to be experts at designing things like parachutes for elephants. All I was doing was listening for laughter. The moment I heard laughter, I knew that I had opened the door between your conscious brain and your subconscious brain just wide enough. You can still make informed decisions. You can still develop big ideas. It's called Amazing Alpha. For those of you who said falling asleep or waking up, it's that there's an expression called when the penny drops. It comes from Thomas Edison. He used to fall asleep at night with a penny between his knees. It's that eureka, I've got the big idea moment. And he would put a tin tray on the floor, and as he would fall asleep, his muscles would relax. The penny would drop, it would make a noise, and it would wake him up. And he would write down whatever he was thinking. And you could think, well, that's stupid. Why on earth would I do that? Well, who had more patent inventions in the 20th century than anybody else by over 1,500? Thomas Edison. Salvador Dali would fall asleep against his easel. As he would fall asleep, he'd fall over. That would wake him up. And he would sketch whatever he'd been dreaming. Of course, I want to know what he was smoking before he went to bed. But he was not an unsuccessful artist. So if you're one of those people who gets their best ideas falling asleep or waking up, just keep a notepad by bed. Most of us, it's Amazing Alpha. How do I get there? I do energizers. If you're not sure what an energizer is, it's a fun exercise that takes 2 minutes that gets people to laugh. You can find them on, I think my site's not there, duncanwardle.com/energizers. There's a bunch of them there. So that's the importance of playfulness. Well, I don't expect you to be playful every minute of every day, but I do expect you to be playful when you're looking to have new ideas. Our biggest barrier to innovation, however, is this. It's you and me. The more area of expertise and experience we have, the more we stay in what I call my river of thinking. My river of thinking on Disney and public relations is very fast, very wide, very deep. It makes me informed decisions very quickly. And we're really good when we're in our river. But we're being asked to get out of that river and disrupt more and more often in order to survive and compete in the next decade. So we developed 4 or 5 lateral thinking tools that help you think differently. The first one was created by a man called Walt, last name Disney. In 1940, he had created a film called Fantasia. He wanted it to mist inside the theatre during Little April Showers. He wanted heat pumped in during Night on a Bare Mountain, and the theatre owner said, no, Walt, it's too expensive. So Walt used this tool. He listed the rules of this challenge as quickly as he could, and asked as many silly and absurd what-if questions as quickly as he could. He said, rules, you have to go at a set time. You have to watch the previews. You can only watch one movie at a time. I, Walt, can't control the environment. So he said, what if I could? That's not provocative enough. The more provocative your what-if question or your more what-if statement, the further out of your river of thinking you'll get. So he said, well, what if I took my movies out of the theatre? Well, that was an absurd suggestion in 1940. So he said, well, imagine a world where I can make that work. Well, they couldn't be 2-dimensional, clearly, because they'd fall over. Well, what if I made my movies 3-dimensional? Imagine a world where I can make that work. Well, the characters would have to be walked around. Oh, they'd have to be real people. But they were real people. I couldn't put Cinderella next to Davy Crockett because people wouldn't be immersed in her story. So I had to put them in different areas, different lands. Oh, I know. I'll call it Disneyland. Fast forward to 2005. Who used to go to Blockbuster Video? Who's pissed off on late fees? founder of What If used this tool to create Netflix. He listed all the rules for going to Blockbuster, one of which was you have to drive to a physical store. He said, what if there was no physical store? Imagine a world where I could make that work. Well, YouTube already existed. They streamed amateur content. So he said, what if I just stream professional content? Nobody has to drive to a physical store. Everybody gets the one they want on opening day weekend. Nobody would have to pay a late fee. I'll cut the rental off at 24 hours. Nobody has to do time rewind. I know, I'll call it Netflix. I'll take my idea to Blockbuster 5 times. They'll turn me down 5 times. I'll take them out of business in 5 years. It's easy to look at Netflix and Disney and go, they've got so much money, they can do what they want. That's not relevant to me. With all due respect, Reed Hastings had no money in 2005 and Walt was bankrupt in 1940. So I'll give you a smaller example to bring it to life. There was a small company in Great Britain that used to make glasses that we drink out of. And they found there was too much breakage and not enough production when the glasses were being wrapped. So they went down to the shop floor and observed their employees, and they listed the rules. 26 employees, conveyor belt, 12 glasses to a box, boxes made of cardboard, corrugated cardboard between each glass, glasses being wrapped in newspaper, employees reading newspaper. So somebody asked a relatively provocative question. What if we poke their eyes out? Well, that's not very nice, and it's against the law. But because he asked the provocative question, the person sitting next to him said, wait a minute, why don't we just hire blind people? So they did. Production went up 28%, breakage went down 48%, and the British government gave them a 50% salary subsidy hiring people with disabilities. Who here has been to a Disney theme park? What's the biggest pain of going to a Disney theme park? The lines. In 2011, we could have said, and this is what you all ask yourselves every day, how might we make more money? If we'd said, how might we make more money, we'd have put the gate price up by 3%. You'd have all grumbled, you'd have still come, and I'd have made 2% or 3% more profit margin. That's called iteration, that is not innovation. Instead of saying, how might we make more money, we said, how might we solve the biggest consumer pain point? So we used this tool. We listed all the rules for going to Disney: flights, car hire, hotels, got to meet the characters, got to watch the parade, got to buy the merchandise, got to stand in line. In 2011, we said, what if there were no lines? No front desk, no gates at the entrance to the park, no standing line for merchandise or food and beverage. Then we said, imagine a world where we can make it work. Well, guess what? RFID technology had already been around for 12 years. We just put it in a little plastic band. Called it Disney's Magic Band. When you arrive at Walt Disney World Resort today, if you're staying in one of the Disney's hotels, you just touch your room. You don't check in or check out as your door key. It's also your theme park ticket. There are no gates at the entrance to our parks anymore. You swipe and go. Your favourite reservations for your favourite attractions and meet and greets are stored on here. Swipe and go. If I want an item of merchandise once, I touch it once, it goes to my hotel room. I touch it twice, it goes to my house. I save my fast food on my phone. I want a hot dog with pickles on the side and go to Pinocchio's Village House for lunch safe. I walk into my restaurant 2 hours later, touch table 47, food comes fresh to me. Had we have asked how might we make more money, we'd have made 3% profit margin. But because we said how might we solve the biggest consumer pain point, the average guest in a Disney theme park today has 2 hours free time they didn't have 4 years ago. And what is it you lovely people do with your free time at Disney? Single biggest revenue generating idea since Disneyland opened its doors on July 17, 1955. No significant capital investment required. No new lands, no new parades, no new fireworks, no new shows. Software, not cheap software. Data, everybody says, oh, we've got big data. What are you doing with it? I'm not quite sure. 25 million visitors a year, every second of every day, are informing us what they like and what they don't like. You are effectively crowdsourcing, open source, the future design of a Disney theme park. We know that 62.7% of our guests, when given the choice, turn right. Not quite sure what to do with that yet, but by golly, we know it. Think about the future design of parks. As you come up Main Street, USA in the morning, the exits to your right will be wider. As you come down Main Street in the evening, guess what? Just by asking what if, and imagining a world where we might, and being disruptive. And he's gone too far away from the stage again. Naive experts. What is a naive expert, and why should you invite them into every session you run? Hopefully you've got a notepad and a pen somewhere on your table between you as a team. If not, you can always doodle it on your iPhones. Can't get pens out? Come on. I know nobody carries pens anymore. It's sad. I'm going to give you a 7-second exercise. Oh wait, what's this octopus? Oh wait, what's this? There it is. Here, camera, look at this. You shouldn't be having this at this table. Okay. So, I'm going to name. I'm going to give you 70 seconds to draw it. Okay. Everybody ready? Pens ready? I would like you to draw a house. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens down, please. So I have a few questions for you. Show your genius to your neighbour if you would. Twins, man, twins. Twins. Are we twins? Are we twins? We're twins. Yeah, we're twins. So, why do we always put the door in the middle at the front? Why are we so insecure that we draw 2 windows? And why do we still put bars over the windows? Right? Oh, sorry, it's too dark. And what shape is the roof, ladies and gentlemen? Of course it is. Why? Because my river of experience, my river of thinking tells me that's what a house should look like. We had 12 white, male, over 50 American architects in a room designing a new retail dining and entertainment complex for Hong Kong Disneyland. That's called groupthink. So I invited them to the room as my naive expert. Here's the success criteria for a naive expert. They don't work for you and they don't work in your industry. That is the success criteria. Because they don't work for you and don't work in your industry, they will ask the silly question that you're too embarrassed to ask in front of all of your peers, so the question doesn't get asked. They'll throw out the audacious idea that you're too scared to throw out in front of your colleagues. Their role is not to solve the challenge for you, their role is to get you out of your river of thinking and thinking differently. So I invited in a Chinese chef, a female Chinese chef underneath the age of 30. Therefore, she was Chinese, not American. She was female, not male. She was a chef, not an architect, and she was under 30. While everybody drew this and everybody laughed, she drew this. Dim sum architecture, which if you've never seen it before, is a round bamboo dish that your dim sum would come in, a little chimney, and she even had a little Chinese lady waving out the window, which I thought was quite ambitious for 7 seconds. But here's the thing, we realised we'd all stayed in our river of thinking of what a house should look like. She gave us permission to get out of our river and think differently, to disrupt, as the gentleman before me referred to. On the way out the door, somebody slapped a post-it note over her drawing that said, distinctly Disney, authentically Chinese. Dim sum architecture. 7 years later, the strategic brand position for the Shanghai Disney Resort, distinctly Disney, authentically Chinese. I love Canada because you have some diversity in the room. Because let me tell you, I live in the South, and there isn't any. And I'm fed up with the political correctness and bullshit that goes along with diversity. And our quotas. We're going to have 15% African Americans because somebody will sue us otherwise. We're going to spend 5% of our money on the Hispanics because otherwise somebody will sue us. Bullshit, you missed the point. Diversity is innovation. If somebody looks different to you, they think different to you, and they will help you think different. And it's time for big corporations to figure that out because it might keep them in business. Sorry, I'm a little bit passionate. I'm coming back to that. How else? How might we re-express our challenge to get ourselves to think differently? So if I were going to come to Vancouver, no, I'm in Toronto, sorry. I offended my taxi driver this morning. I'm going to offend all of you now, and I apologise, because I arrived at my hotel over here. There's this big Blue Jay logo on the wall. I said, is that the ice hockey team? And he said, baseball, son, and it's not ice. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be deported shortly after this presentation. If I were to ask you 4 essential things that you need to put in a car wash, what would you tell me? Water, soap, brushes, and labour. Okay, that's good. Yeah, but wait. What if I came to Toronto and you and I went into business and we opened an auto spa? Now what could you put in it? A barber shop, coffee station, bar, oils for the car or for the people? What do you Masseuse, barista. In less than 60 seconds, they took you out of your river of thinking of what you know should be in a car wash and got you to consider what could be an auto spa. The genius? Walt Disney. He created this tool. With 3 weeks to go to the opening of Disneyland, the landscape artist came to Walt and said, "Hey Walt, we're out of time, money and resources. 2/3 of the flower beds are full of weeds. We don't have any money." So Walt said, "Let's go for a walk." So they did. And he said, "Well, what's the name of that weed in Latin then?" And they all looked at him like, "Don't be mad." He said, "Well, find out." Why? He said, "I want you to tag each weed with a little tag, and I want you to write its name in Latin next to the weed. When our guests come in on opening day, they'll think it's some exotic plant yet to grow into fruition." Sure enough, on July 17th, 1955, Disneyland opened with 2/3 of its flower beds full of exotic plants yet to grow into fruition. That's the fun story, but it's not the important one. Walt redefined hospitality. He said, "We won't have any employees in our park. We will only have cast members. They will be cast for a role in the show. They will wear a costume, not a uniform, and with that created the best level of guest service and friendliness anywhere in the world. Never been replicated, never been duplicated." A mate of mine, his name's Hector Rodriguez, he's 43 years of age, big jolly Puerto Rican guy, worked there 32 years on the same attraction. When he comes to meet us, he comes bouncing in the house and he goes, "Man, you should see what I did for that guest today." Huge smile on his face, and he'll tell you what he did for that guest today with enormous pride. He also said, "We will not have any customers in our parks. We will only have guests." Now think about everywhere you go when you're treated as a customer and how you feel. Think about how you feel when you go somewhere and you're treated as a guest. And with that one simple re-expression, Walt redefined a level of service in the hospitality industry and completely smashed the hospitality industry. I was in New York about 6 months ago. Whoops, I lost Walt. Sorry. Sorry, gentlemen. I was in a meeting in New York about 6 months ago, and I was waiting for my appointment for 10 or 15 minutes, chatting to this lovely lady behind the reception desk, this young girl. And I went upstairs to see the boss. I said, "Hey, your receptionist, she's delightful. I'm stealing her. She's going to come work for me." He said, "Wow, how long were you chatting to her for exactly?" I said, "I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. He goes, "Oh, that's odd." I said, "Well, why is that odd?" He said, "Well, we don't have a receptionist." I said, "Oh shit, who the hell was I talking to for the last 15 minutes? I said, "Well, her name was Sarah. She had a summer dress on because it had no sleeves." He goes, "Oh, no, Sarah. Sarah's our director of first impressions." Right? Completely re-expressed what a form of employment could be. Also want to touch on the other thing that children are really good at. Except I've got to find it first. Intuition, when I find it. There we go. The figure at the bottom was presented to me by a professor at the university last week. Should say million, not billion. Slight change, but there we go. Your brain has 186 billion neurons. Your first brain. What about this one? The one you make 95% of your decisions with every day. The outfit you chose to wear today. The car you choose to drive. The places you go to shop. The products and services you consume and buy every single day. You make that with your first brain, or you went with your gut? It's a much more powerful brain than most people give it credit for. We were charged by Disneyland Paris to get more people to come more often, spend more money. Our going-in hypotheses with our big data told us X amount of people could afford us, X amount of people had an affinity to the brand, so all we had to do is do what we always do, product-centric. We build it, they will come. We'll spend $250 million on a new attraction. They'll come. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. By a show of hands, who here has children? Right, this lady here. Hello. What's your name? Jane, can I give you that? Thank you very much. Could you close your eyes for me? And a photograph, a physical photograph of your children somewhere in your house, one particular one. Focus on it for me, if you will. And tell us which room it's in.
My office.
Your office. Is it in on a bookshelf, on the desk?
On my desk.
On your desk. And describe where this photograph was taken.
At summer camp.
Summer camp, okay. And who's in the picture?
Myself and my two daughters.
Two daughters. What are their names?
Hillary and Shelby.
Hillary and Shelby. And how old were Hillary and Shelby when this photograph was taken?
7 and 3.
7 and 3. And how old are Hillary and Shelby today?
30 and 27.
All right, 30 and 27. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good, right. We could have relied on our big data. Our big data told us to spend $240 million on new capital investment. By going out and spending a day with our end user and our consumer and disrupting the way we'd always done our research, we found the same clue as Hillary and Shelby in every single household. When I asked the lady I was living with, how old are your children, 4 or 5? She said, no, love, 24 and 25. When we came back together, we all had the same clue. When we asked Mum how old their children were in the photograph, they were anywhere from 5 to 30 years older than the picture. So what's going on? Well, our intuition told us there was something there. So we dug a bit deeper, and we went back to interview the mums, and we found that our first task, we want our children to go to kindergarten, junior school, middle school, high school, college, graduate, be happy, healthy, and successful. Who wants that for their kids? She's lying. She wants them back in that photo frame. When she walks in the door at night, just as you're still a superhero. You are Superwoman or Superman. They're back in that frame. That's what we really want for our kids. Why do we love our grandchildren so much? They're right back in the frame. So our intuition told us there's something here that we're not seeing in our big data. So we went and dug a little deeper, and we found 3 bittersweet transitions that take place between a parent and a child, through which you know you must cross. And that split second that you cross it, you both want to step back, but it's too late. Mums are telling me these stories. I've got intuition. I'm a dad. And I'll tell you my 3, the same as theirs. I remember exactly where I was. He was 10. He came round the corner of Abuelito's bedroom in Monte Mexico. It was Christmas Eve. His eyes were half full of tears. You know when they're half full, but they haven't started to go yet? And he says, Papa, are you Santa Claus? And it was like a bullet. I didn't see it coming. Imagination, creativity. I'm not your little boy anymore. That's what hurt. I'm growing up now. Second one, Kissimmee, Florida, curb, Chrysler Pacifica minivan, Puerto Rican flag underneath rearview mirror, Kirkland, Michael's department store, left hand. 10:30 a.m. Tuesday morning when she dropped my hand for the first time in public at the age of 13 because she didn't want to hold Dad's hand in public anymore. You ask most dads where they were the day your daughter dropped your hand for the first time, they can tell you like that, and they know if it was their right hand or left hand. It's a seminal moment between a father and a daughter. And the last one for us was last December. We used to travel up from Florida into Alabama to take her to university, and we'd unpack and pack a third of the room. And last December she got her first job in Manhattan. So we packed up all of her room. And now when I walk in, it's tidy. You have the tidy rooms, they're the empty ones, they're the sad ones. And you walk in. So we dropped her off in Manhattan, and we hugged, we cheered, we laughed, and wished her good luck. And then my wife and I got in the Uber and cried our eyes out all the way to the end. Our going-in hypothesis was if we spend $250 million, they will come. What we found by getting out of our big data and spending time with our end user is Mum doesn't wake up every morning going, I wonder if Disneyland Paris is going to have new products and services this year. Not even on the radar screen, people. She worries, however, every day how quickly her children are growing up and how she wants to make special memories for them while they still believe, while they still hold my hand, while they're still here. That's a segmented communication campaign, not a product investment strategy. One that increased sales, not intent to visit, by 22% and turned a very conservative, product-centric, we build it, they will come organisation into a consumer-centric one. I'm going to wrap up on curiosity and bravery. Curiosity. Now, I want 100% honesty here. How many of you go to your favourite restaurant 2 or 3 times a year with your loved one, and you get the menu? It's your favourite restaurant. You read all the appetizers, the main courses, the desserts, listen to the specials, and then you order the same thing you order every time. Oh, come on, people, honesty, please. Okay, who sleeps on the same side of the bed every night? Even when they're in a hotel room by themselves. You're sad people, aren't you? You ever commuted home, however you commute, and you get to the door of your house or your apartment, and there's that split sort of, how did I get here? Oh, I hope you weren't driving. On the way home, your brain physically shut down. It knows where the grocery store is, knows where the florist is, knows where the traffic light is, knows where the speed camera is. No fresh stimulus in, no new ideas out. If you commute the same way every day, I challenge you, once a month, on the way in or the way out, try a different route. Not a huge commitment. If you listen to the same radio station or podcast every day, perhaps once a month, listen to a different one. Steve Jobs, most people think of Steve as Apple. Between Apple 1 and Apple 2, Steve designed Pixar. He designed the entire campus around unplanned collaboration. A campus designed to bring two people together who wouldn't normally meet to have a conversation they weren't supposed to have, to spark a new idea. What if you had a brown bag breakfast on the first Friday of every month and gathered your team around the table for an hour and just asked them to come in and talk about what they saw in the last 30 days that they thought was innovative or creative? No presentations. God knows they've got enough words there. No why is it good for the business? Just passion. You'd be amazed how many ideas you can type out to that breakfast. Number one barrier to innovation was time to think. One of the most innovative companies in the world is Google. What does Google do that you don't? What's that secret sauce? Time to think. It's a company policy. 20% time to be precise. 20% of the time of their engineers is called time to think. You don't have it. Why not? That weekly meeting that you always have. Why do we have a weekly meeting? Because we've always had a weekly meeting. What if once a month, the first Friday of every month, after that breakfast conversation, you tried this? No presentations, no emails, no meetings for a day. The first Friday of every month. Try it. If it doesn't work, you can tweet me back in 3 months' time and say, Duncan, you're full of shit. If you don't disrupt, you're gone. You're going to have to try something different, which leads me to my last behavior, which is bravery. And in order to demonstrate bravery, what I thought I'd do is, in just a moment, I'm probably going to invite somebody to come up on stage and sing with me so we can demonstrate bravery. First of all, I have to pull up my favourite song. Those of you who are as old as me, there we go. Don't Go Breaking My Heart, Elton John and Kiki T, 1973. You could be Elton or Kiki, I don't care. We've got the words on the screen here, and we're going to record one chorus. So I'll be looking for a volunteer in just a second. Before I do, I wasn't sure if I'd get one or not. And so we got in here before you, that's why the doors were locked. But you may not look until the count of three, please. And on the count of three, I'm just going to ask you, what I did was I came in and stuck a post-it note underneath one of your chairs, and it just says, it's you. And so on the count of three, I'm going to ask you to look under your chairs. If you get it's you, I'll ask you to come join me, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, stop panicking, people. I would not do that to you at the end of today's presentation. I just wanted to see how British you could become. Oh shit, he's going to pick me up. Who is the bravest animal in the jungle? Not so. A humble butterfly. The 10-foot by 10-foot butterfly with daggers and fangs that just consumed your stomach in a complete sense of panic, when for one split second you thought you were going to have to get on stage with a weird guy called Duncan from London and sing Don't Go Breaking My Heart by Elton John and Kiki T. When was the last time you felt that viscerally nervous at work? You don't have to feel like it every day. You don't have to feel like it every month. It's a sign to you and you alone that you're not doing anything different and you're not innovating. And if you're not feeling like that every now and then, you're going to go out of business in the next decade. One of my favourite quotes, by the way, is the opposite of bravery. It's not cowardice, it's conformity. We continue to conform. That's why we do weekly reports. Weekly reports work for the last 100 years. Stop doing weekly reports, nobody reads them. Org charts. The only two people who look at an org chart, the head of HR and the person at the top of the org chart. But you still keep producing them. Here's the good news. You were born creative. You used to play in the cardboard box. You have an amazing imagination. Last week you had that weird dream with either David Beckham or Beyonce that you don't want to tell anybody about. We're born curious. We ask why, and why again. Then we go to school and work and told to stop asking why. And we all have amazing intuition. Artificial intelligence is coming, and it's coming very, very fast. I have one advantage over the young people in this room. I will be retired in a small pub in Scotland. You won't. How will you compete with artificial intelligence in the next decade that was scheduled to be thousands of times more intelligent than the human race? With the very four things you're born with. They may or may not be programmed into AI at some point in the next 20 or 30 years, but not in the next decade. You can't program creativity, you can't program imagination, you can't program curiosity, and you can't program intuition. These, I believe, the skill sets that we were born with that have been squashed the whole time, will actually be the most employable skill sets of the next decade. Because A, you can't replicate them or program them into AI, and B, these are the most disruptive of the creative behaviours. And I wish you well. Thank you very much.